If you can sing a higher pitch in an exercise or in isolation, but the moment you add text, words, articulation, everything starts to fall apart, you are in a very large club, and it's probably not a range problem. So today we're going to look at some solutions for things that happen when we add articulation, especially in the higher ranges. Hey there, if you're new here, my name's Dan Calloway. I teach musical theater voice and vocal pedagogy at Boston Conservatory at Berkeley, and I work with singers on building voices that feel efficient, flexible, expressive, and wholehearted. I'm really glad you're here with me today. A lot of singers will experience disruption in higher pitches, especially chest voice mode 1, when we add words and articulation. And we'll think things like, well, I must need more support, I need more control, things like that. But a lot of the time what's actually happening is when we add words, we are changing the shape of the instrument. We are changing the shape of the vocal tract. And that has huge upstream effects or downstream effects, depending on, I guess we would call it upstream if the stream is going this way. All right, and that has huge effects on everything, acoustically, registration, lots of dominoes going on when we change articulation patterns. As you know, your voice is a system, and articulation, your tongue, your jaw, your lips, all of these things working together, it's not just about clarity of words, it is part of the whole acoustic system. So every vowel and every consonant you form reshapes the vocal tract. It changes resonance and it changes how the vocal folds respond in turn. So if something falls apart when you're adding lyrics, it's often the articulation disrupting the coordination. Again, if something's falling apart when you're adding lyrics, it's often the way that we're using our articulators that is disrupting the coordination of singing the pitch. So I'm going to sing ah, ah, just ah on A3. Ah. Now I'm going to add some words. Johnny could only sing one note, and the note he sang was this. Ah. All right, so nothing about the pitch changed. Literally, that Richard Rodgers wrote that on that pitch. Johnny could only sing one note, and the note he sang was this. The shape changed, right? So I'm making words. The shape changed in the articulators. So what is happening when we add text? A few inefficient things can start to happen. The tongue can start to pull back and it can get really busy and start to get involved with things. The jaw, your chewing muscles, that can start to grab because all of these things feel like control. The lips can start to overwork and consonants can start to interrupt airflow and create unfavorable shapes for vibration. And then the way that consonants are interacting with vowels can get really kind of hairy. So we're going to break that down. I want you to think of it this way. So what I want you to think about is we're going to observe your singing as a flowing river of vibration. And that river is flowing through various different shapes. And the riverbed that is holding the river is constantly changing shapes. Constantly changing shapes of your airflow. So there is vowel flowing through here and there is consonant flowing through here. We are going to collaborate with the flow of air in all of these things. Sometimes people look at consonants as an interruption of vowel, or they look at vowel and consonant as sort of two different worlds. I disagree with that. I don't find that a helpful concept. I think that we need to celebrate and enjoy what vowels and consonants are doing along this mysterious thing we call a timeline. So the goal is to let the consonants live with vowels in there, and I like to see things start to have turns, yeah? So vowels and consonants all have their turn along the timeline of a song. So I'll show you what we mean. All right, so some people have asked about this particular phrase. So the song by the Outfield, people ask me about this one a lot. Josie's on a vacation far away. Okay, so that one can get pretty tricky, right? So it starts on an F sharp and goes up to an A, all right? So say if you have you're fine getting to that A, but then, but once you start to sing Josie, everything goes a little pear-shaped. So, all right. So what we're going to do, let's examine what the vowels of that are first. That's going to be actually very important, all right? So if I'm speaking it, Josie's on a vacation far away. away, okay? Sometimes it's hard to take the consonants out. But so like, what if I go, what happens if I use my speechy vowels here? Let's see. That's just the vowels, my speech vowels on those pitches. Didn't go so well. Not awesome, right? I need some different vowels, all right? Up here, if I'm going to maintain mode 1 up in this region, I'm going to need a very specific vowel neighborhood. And that vowel neighborhood is going to have my tongue quite low and juicy in the back. So those are vowels like a, I, and e. A, I, e. If you like Schitt's Creek, that show, you can do your best Moira Rose dialect, and then you can sing anything you want. But that's because the tongue is in a lower vowel position, which gives me a high first formant, a high frequency in the first formant, and then it also gives the back of my tongue a little nudge backward. So if I now go, Josie's on a vacation far away, that's my new vowels, okay? So, all right, so that's more successful. Now, I jump to all the vowels. If those vowel feelings are new to you, just do one at a time. Ah, 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 and then ah, eh, hey. You can play around with those, all right? Just one vowel at a time. That's one way to play with it, all right? Now, Josie's on a vacation far away. I've got my vowels in place. Step 2 on this, let me add some very, very light consonants. How light can the consonants feel? Feel it in my speech first. Josie's on a vacation far away. Josie's on a vacation, stops having meaning. Josie's on a vacation far away, okay? So now, Josie's on a vacation far away. Even feel how that J sometimes wants to go, jump! Yeah, it wants to pressurize, right? Super, super gentle. Josie's on a vacation far away. All right, so I'm using very, very light consonants, okay? And we're going to keep the vowel shape in that neighborhood. I'm going to let the consonants be super, super gentle. It's funny, you hear something that sounds kind of intense about that opening line. And so if I overdo the consonants, let's see what happens. Josie's on a vacation far away. Okay, if I'm overdoing my consonants. Josie's on a vacation far away. Now, it's actually causing a lot of sort of like back pressure. I'm sort of going to have to fight through. So it's pretty crazy how gentle, I call it economy of movement with articulation. How gentle can the articulation feel? Now, I'm making some cozy narrowing, kind of in the, what I'd call the palatopharyngeus, the pillars of Phocées, right behind my back molars in the back of the throat. So I'm letting that kind of have like a ooh, oh, kind of like a curving feeling they would say in CVT for the style of the song. If it was really wide, it would sound kind of like Josie's on a vacation far away. That's more width in the back. So I'm Josie's on, but my essential vowel is Josie's on a vacation far away. When it gets up here, it sounds more like the thing, okay? So playing with vowel only, moving into the range of the vowel, examining the vowel. When I use my speech vowels, it gets a little crackly. I want to maintain mode 1 in this style, up in this range. Josie's on a vacation far away. Josie's on a vacation far away. Adding really, really gentle articulation in there. And just noticing where tongue, jaw, lips want to engage to help, to provide a sense of control that actually can create a sense of inhibition. All right, if you think Kansas, carry on my wayward son. This phrase too goes up to C5 there. Okay, so if we do slow motion articulation, we're going to use the same vowel tools we just used. Carry on my wayward son. Carry on my wayward son. Okay, so what if I go, even that, the way I say carry, I say it kind of, with an eh sound. Carry on my, I'm in mode 2. I actually can't get a mode 1 with that shape. That's my speech vowels trying to sing Carry on my wayward son up there, okay? So not successful, all right? Because, again, vowel shape has a retroactive effect on registration. So now I'm going to go, I'll do my Moira Rose, carry on my wayward son. We miss Catherine O'Hara, don't we? I do. Carry on my wayward son, carry on my wayward son, okay? So now carry on my... So that is going to support me in mode 1 high, okay? So now I'll add some gentle consonants, right? Carry, now watch, there's that K sound, right? K can really pressurize if we're not careful. It's just a gentle contact of the back of the tongue up to the soft palate. Carry on my wayward son. Check out what your tongue is doing. Is it wanting to pull back to give you a sense of help and support? Is the jaw and the tongue, are they starting to sort of like cement together? Yeah. So then, if that's the case, I want the apex of my tongue just to rest here behind my bottom teeth. And I'm just going to go, ka. Is that the pitch? Yeah. Carry on. And now look, there's an M, okay? Nasal consonants like M and N, they often disrupt us as well because this requires the back of my tongue to narrow in order to maintain mode 1. Carry on. When you hear me going into mode 2, that's me moving the tongue a little forward. Carry on. Yeah. Carry on. Yeah. So I'm going to keep, I need to keep mode 1 through that N and that M. And that's going to be with anterior, posterior narrowing of the back of the tongue. Carry on. Yeah, so that's going to keep me in mode 1. Carry on, my wayward son. Carry on, my wayward son. Carry on, my wayward son. And that sounds like son, but my tongue is going son. Son. I'm shaping a little bit maybe with the lips, but yeah. So that's how you do it. And again, if you want to just look at one vowel at a time. Or you can play around with different favorable vowels just to feel what it feels like to move through there using those vowels. And then it becomes more intuitive. And again, hook into your Moira Rose if you need to. And then always ask, okay, wait, how little do I need for this articulation? And most of the time, it's a lot gentler. We hear these things, especially in theater singing. It's like, chew your words. I need you to chew the text. I need to hear exactly what you're saying. And so that gets us really like chewy with our words, but it actually it inhibits energy and it actually holds some of you back. It obscures some of your natural essence. And it also makes articulation sometimes less clear. And then sometimes even the vibration of the vowel, the sharing of your soul gets obscured behind articulation. That happens a lot as well. One example from musical theater I just worked with, there's a song from the musical Titanic by Maury Yeston called Barrett's Song, sung by the stoker in the boiler room, shoveling coal. And I think it's this. If you push her faster than 75 knots, yeah? I think it's 75 knots. So now, if you push her faster than 75, so if I say that, let's test the speech vowels. If you push her faster than 75, this is D, F, G. If you push her faster than 75, a little unstable, yeah? So I'm gonna need, if you push her faster than 75, if you push her faster than 75, yeah, so even there, I'm like, is it my mouth or my nose? If you push her faster than 75, and see, that's a lot of words, yeah? I was working on this with a singer this semester. I was like, I was trying it myself to see how we did it. It's very challenging. If you push her faster than 75, it's also at the end of the song, and that 5 is sustained. And so your brain is thinking, this is the big finish. And so you really want to push. So that's the artistry coming into play. We're like, okay, wait, how do I need to soften, I need to balance, I need my articulation to be gentler. And that way more you can come through. And remember, what's the orchestra's job? What's the piano's job? Yeah? If you push her faster than 75. So I'd give that a little look, soften up the articulation, and I'd slow it down to map it. If you push, I'm using a J glide there. If you, there's actually an I vowel. If you push. If you push. If I go you, it's going to crack. You. If you, it's going to go to mode 2 because my tongue's too high. If you push her faster than 75. So that's how I would want to. If you push her faster than 75. How much breath do I need? But that's the shape. If you push her faster than 75. That's what I'm using to utilize that. And then it marries with a pitch and it sounds like the words higher. Again, what are the vowel shapes? How gentle can articulation be? And then you saw that I checked in with breath. With that phonatory pattern, what do I need? All right. So you're not going to let the consonants get in there and disrupt. And again, I'm looking over a timeline, right? If it's like I'm sitting on a riverbank and I'm watching. If you push her faster than. If you push her faster than. Everything has its turn on the timeline. Yeah. If you push her faster than 75, and on a sustained pitch, thoughts are moving. If you push her faster than 75. Okay, I think you get the point. All of those things. Vowel, how much breath do I need? Gentle, gentle articulation. Okay, if you push her faster than 75, that will help. All right. I'm not forcing consonants on you. I'm letting the articulation be gentle. Therefore, it's clear. Therefore, it also gives favorable resonant space to the vocal task. Okay, so the same is true with Western classical style. So the vowel shapes will remain the same, even though the phonatory pattern has changed. Okay, so if I'm going from ah to more of a ah, two different phonatory patterns, one more straight tone, a little more compressed, closed phase, the other one more flow, okay? So a couple of examples here. I'm thinking of the end of You Are Love from Showboat. And so where you go with me, heaven will always be. That's the text, okay? Where you go with me, heaven will always be. So if I try to utilize my speech vowels for those pitches, where you go with me, heaven will always be. That was more successful than I expected it to be. I don't know if I modified naturally, but I'm going to use these vowels. Where you go with me, heaven will always be. Where you go with me, heaven will always be. So I'm putting these two elements together. Vowel shape and gentle articulation. Where you go with me, heaven will L. Okay, I'm glad. So I track the M. I'm going to provide enough back tongue narrowing to keep that M in mode 1. Where you go there. Where you go with me, heaven will. This is where you need an Italianate L. La luna. Just the apex of the tongue to the alveolar ridge. La luna. Heaven will all. A lot of times, especially as American English speakers like I am, all the back of the tongue wants to come up. So you want to let that tongue be very gentle. Will all. That'll give you a nice resonant space on that L. Heaven will. See what that's doing to my vowel if I go all, yeah. Heaven will always be. I'm using an I vowel there, B. So heaven will always be. All right. So knowing the acoustic vowels, super important. I didn't know this before, and it was very frustrating. There were lots of tears. Okay. If you're singing, I'm thinking that high situation in Che gelida manina from La Boheme. So the good thing is the Italian vowels are naturally quite sunny, so they're going to help you out. But even there, we can really get screwed up. I hear many a tenor above me in the practice room at the conservatory crashing on the rocks of this and insisting, trying to battle with physics, and it just never works. So poiché, that's at F E flat, F4 E flat 4. Poiché. So I'm using my shapes, gentle articulation. Poiché. 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 Now, poiché va preso stanza. Don't be coming after my classical singing right now because I haven't done it in a while. Poiché va preso stanza. Okay, la speranza. So now this climbs. Okay, I'm going F, G, A flat, C5, okay? All right, this is gonna go la spa. I'm gonna use an A vowel on this A flat. It's speranza, but rather than I'm gonna use an A. So the path on this is going to go la spa. That's gonna be more of an A vowel. La spa, a. I'm really using more like I like cat there, starting at that A flat. La speranza. So I would take the consonants away. La speranza. All right? Those Italianate vowels are already out of the way. Italianate consonants are already out of the way. La speranza. La speran. There's an N. Okay. So checking that. So that's gonna shape like this. La speranza. La. Let's see if I can do this in my chair here. La Jaw wanted to help. Okay, I'm gonna let him soften. La Okay, that's the path I would take on that. So I'm applying those articulation and vowel rules into Western classical styles, okay? So if a phrase isn't working, step back, take out the words. Use those wonderful vowels, a, e, sort of low tongue vowels. Find the coordination on a vowel. Pick one just to find that coordination. Then go into that vowel neighborhood and use the text. So I would go to, heaven will always be. Sometimes you can just take one vowel. So you go, heaven will always be, or heaven will always be. So you can also play around that way, yeah? And then you can add the words back lightly. And a lot of times you'll find that, the vowels don't have to be, they're not far apart, is what I'm saying. So even if I just went, if I went, heaven will always be, heaven will always be. I mean, you can tell what I'm saying, but you can also just play around with vowels that way. All right, I hope that makes sense. Take the words out. What vowels am I using? What vowels will support mode 1 in this higher range? And now, gently mapping through articulation. Is my jaw working really hard? Is the root of my tongue working really hard? How is my jaw opening? Yeah, these are all questions that you can ask yourself. Lots of really great exercises you can also do. In other videos, I demonstrate this really excellent exercise. La yaga, la yaga, la yaga, la yaga, la yaga, la yaga, la yaga. So using any consonant that just requires tongue to hard palate is really good, because then you can differentiate. You can also use yagada, or daga, 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 laga, laga, laga. Those sorts of things, differentiating tongue movement from jaw. That differentiation is going to be really important. So if you feel like you're able to balance into these higher pitches in your exercises, but you crash on the rocks when articulation comes into the picture, it's about a coordination of systems. It's not anything that's intrinsically wrong going on with your voice. You don't need more control. You don't need more support. Probably not. And you don't have to tell yourself I need to be a stronger singer. That's not what's going on. It is articulation, coordination, disrupting the acoustic patterns that are creating different sounds than the ones that you're intending to create. That's all that's happening. So when something breaks down, step back, take the text out a little bit, go into that vowel neighborhood that will support mode 1, reintroduce the text lightly, and then observe what changes, and then pay attention to how am I articulating these certain consonants? How are the movements of my lips, my tongue, my jaw, in coordination with teeth, hard palate, all of that? what effects are they having on registration, because it's all having an effect, okay? And remember that idea of the vibrating river moving through. I'm just going to be observing the vibrating air moving through, changing articulation, tract shaping, and all of that is having a retroactive effect on vibration and registration. I hope this breakdown was helpful. I threw in a lot of terms that I've used in previous videos. If you have any questions about any of the terms that I use, just pop it in the comments. I can put a playlist in response to most of your questions that will take you to deeper dive videos that talk about what is this anterior posterior narrowing, what are these vowels that support mode 1, what is mode 1, all of those things. I have videos that talk about them, so if there's anything that confused you in this, I talked to you today kind of like I would just speak to a voice student that I've worked with for a while. So if you want to see how articulation fits into the full system of the voice, or understand how the systems work together so that you can have a very clear framework for yourself, I've got a free voice map framework below that lays it all out very clearly. You can grab that in the description. And if you want a structured way to build this into your singing, the voice map course walks you through it step by step and also provides you with the resources of the resource library and the community to help you incorporate that. So remember, let your consonants and your articulation, let it be part of that flowing river. We're not going to fight them. We're going to enjoy them, and we're going to meditate on them and see how the shapes of our articulators are affecting registration and overall vibration. And as always, please remember, there is only one you, and somebody would love to hear the story only you can sing. Love much. Now go sing, make some crazy shapes and noises, and pay attention to your articulators. All right, go sing.